At 33, Mariana never imagined she'd be starting over from scratch. Once married, once hopeful, and once secure, at least on the surface, she now stood alone in a tiny apartment in the outskirts of a bustling Brazilian city. The walls were bare, the furniture sparse, and the silence was often deafening. Her 6-year-old daughter, Clara, was the light of her life, but even her innocent laughter couldn't fully drown out the anxiety Mariana felt every time her phone buzzed with another call from a creditor. Her marriage had ended abruptly, an unexpected betrayal followed by a storm of arguments, legal fees, and emotional exhaustion. She was left with joint debts totaling more than 130,000 reals, mostly on credit cards, and a car loan in her name. As if that wasn't enough, she had no financial cushion, no savings, and a part-time nursing assistant job that barely covered rent and daycare. Every week, she had to decide whether to pay the electricity or buy groceries. The worst part wasn't the money, it was the shame. Mariana was always the dependable one, the one who gave advice to others, the friend everyone thought had her life together. Now she was dodging calls, borrowing from relatives, and hoping Clara wouldn't notice when dinner was just rice and eggs 3 nights in a row. One night, after tucking Clara in with a bedtime story she could barely finish through her tears, Mariana sat on the kitchen floor and typed "how to get out of debt as a single mom" into Google. That one search turned into hours of reading, watching videos, and taking notes. She found terms like debt snowball, zero-based budget, and emergency fund. She didn't understand it all, but something clicked. For the first time in months, she didn't feel hopeless. She felt curious. That was the night everything began to change. The next morning, Mariana made coffee and printed out 3 months' worth of bank statements. With a highlighter and a notebook, she categorized every transaction. She was shocked to see how much she'd been spending on food delivery, streaming services, and random purchases she couldn't even remember. It wasn't that she had been reckless, it was that she'd been surviving. Spending had become an emotional crutch. She built her first budget. It was rough, full of guesses and erasures, but it was hers. She called it her survival plan, but deep down, she hoped it would become a roadmap to something better. Following the debt snowball method she'd read about, she listed all her debts from smallest to largest. The smallest was our $1,200 store card. She made it her mission to eliminate that one first. Mariana started cutting ruthlessly. She canceled her gym membership, unsubscribed from every streaming platform except one for Clara, and switched from Uber to the bus. She started preparing all meals at home, buying ingredients in bulk and cooking on Sundays. Clara even helped, stirring pots and taste-testing sauces. They turned budgeting into a game each week, trying to beat last week's spending. To increase her income, Mariana picked up extra shifts at the hospital and began cleaning apartments on weekends. She also discovered that she could sell homemade cakes and snacks online. Her mother's Brigadeiro recipe became a hit, and soon, she had regular orders from colleagues and neighbors. Every extra reel went straight to debt. Within 3 months, the store card was gone. 3 months after that, so was the next smallest. Clara, unknowingly, became her biggest motivator. She'd draw little posters like "Go Mommy" and "Debt Crusher Queen" and tape them to the fridge. Mariana taped her debt payoff tracker next to them. Each time she filled in a square, she felt stronger. It wasn't easy. Some days Mariana was so tired she could barely keep her eyes open on the bus ride home, but she refused to quit. This time, she wasn't just fighting to survive. She was building something better. 18 months after that night on the kitchen floor, Mariana made the final payment on her last credit card. She stared at the screen in disbelief, her fingers trembling as she hit confirm. It was done. She was debt-free. The relief was immediate, like exhaling after holding her breath for years. She jumped up and down in her apartment, tears streaming down her face as Clara clapped and asked if they could go out for pizza. They did. It was the first time in years Mariana had bought something without guilt. But more than the celebration, it was the transformation that mattered. She wasn't the same woman who had sat hopelessly on her kitchen floor. She was now someone who tracked her spending, had an emergency fund, and contributed to a retirement account, even if it was just 50 reals a month. Mariana began learning about investing. She read books like Pai Rico, Pai Pobre, and followed Brazilian finance influencers who explained ETFs and the Tesouro Direto in simple language. She opened an investment account and started small. Her first ETF purchase felt like a ceremony, proof that she was no longer just a spender, but an investor. She also rebuilt her credit score, which had once plummeted below 500. Now it stood proudly above 720. She applied for a better paying job and got it, doubling her income. She moved into a safer neighborhood and bought a used car with cash. Every decision she made was intentional, informed, and rooted in long-term thinking. Her daughter noticed too. Clara started asking questions about money, saving coins in a jar, and talking about buying shares when she grew up. Mariana smiled. Her legacy had already begun. Mariana's story began to ripple beyond her household. Friends and coworkers asked how she turned things around. She started sharing budgeting tips that offered to help others build debt payoff plans. Soon, she was invited to speak at a local women's center. She was nervous, but when she saw the eyes of other single mothers light up with hope, she knew her story mattered. That inspired her to start a blog called Mommy's Money Map. She wrote in the evenings, chronicling her journey, sharing spreadsheets, recipes, savings challenges, and honest reflections about the emotional side of money. Her posts gained traction. She started receiving emails from women across Brazil thanking her for the courage to speak out. Some said her story helped them leave toxic relationships. Others said they started their first emergency fund because of her. Eventually, she monetized the blog through affiliate links, a budgeting ebook, and even a simple online course. It didn't make her rich, but it added stability, and more importantly, purpose. Today, Mariana continues to work at the hospital, but on her own terms. She has savings, investments, and most importantly, peace. She's teaching Clara the things no one taught her: how to manage money with confidence, how to dream big, and how to build a life rooted in values, not fear. Her message to other struggling moms: you are not broken. You are not your bank account. You are capable of rewriting your story, no matter where it begins. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.